Hello, this is Archie Dunlop with Talking Astrology with Archie on Wednesday, April the 26th, 2023. I have a confession to make. I'm obsessed with radioactivity. I think I've always been obsessed by radioactivity. When I was 16, we went on a school trip to the United States. It was 1979, and we went to Pennsylvania. And just as we arrived, we heard that there'd been an accident at the 3 Mile Island nuclear plant. We were supposed to visit the state legislature in Pennsylvania, in Harrisburg, and a trip was cancelled because of 3 Mile Island. I think 3 Mile Island nuclear power plant is in Harrisburg, or was in Harrisburg. I'm not sure if it's still operating. So to illustrate my obsession with radiation, one of the most stupid things I bought was this. This is a Geiger counter, and you can see where I am that there are 34 counts per minute, 28 counts per minute. So it's normal background radiation. Of course, if I were to get something radioactive like this is a radioactive white powder. Let me demonstrate that it's radioactive. See, 24. See what the number does. Oh, I'll turn it on for dramatic effect. $74, $108, $154. See, it's going up all the time. Over 200 counts per minute. 254. I think we're on 300 counts per minute. So you see my point. This stuff is radioactive, and the Geiger counter is picking up on it. Now, I got this stuff from Safeways. It's actually low sodium salt. In fact, I think no sodium salt. Potassium chloride, our bodies are full of it, and there is some of that potassium chloride is a radioactive isotope. Anyway, that brings me on to what I want to talk about, which is Chernobyl, because today is the 37th anniversary of the Chernobyl disaster. I remember it. As you know, I'm old. I was living in West London at the time. I remember it was raining just after Chernobyl, and rain was hitting my skin, and I was paranoid that maybe somehow the radiation or the cesium-137 had got into my body somehow, and it's still perhaps lurking. Anyway, that was 37 years ago, and I'm going to now look at the horoscope of Chernobyl. Chernobyl obviously happened in the Ukraine, was part of the Soviet Union then. Happened at 1:23 a.m. That's the time given for when the disaster started to happen. So what is amazing about this chart is that the planet Uranus is exactly rising at the time of disaster. Uranus is the planet of radiation. It's certainly one of the planets of radiation. It has a close connection with uranium, and I suppose anything radioactive. So we get a powerful signature there. Question is there anything else of interest? Well, you can see the sun was in Taurus, moon was in Scorpio. It was just after a full moon. So maybe we should look at that full moon. Notice also that there's an exact Sun-Pluto opposition. Pluto is another planet often associated with radiation, specifically plutonium. I don't know if much plutonium was involved in the Chernobyl disaster, but there was an almost exact Sun-Pluto opposition there. Now, as far as the full moon is concerned, it might be a good idea to look back at the previous full moon. So if we look at the full moon for April the 24th, which happened 2 days earlier. There's the full moon, moon at 4-3 Scorpio, sun at 4-3 Taurus. Now, the moon is in a really quite awful position at that time of that full moon. It was some kind of eclipse as well because it's close to the south node. The moon is at its maximum fall, in its absolute worst position, all things being equal, at 3 Scorpio. So it hasn't moved much beyond that. So there it is. We can also see at the base of the chart, around the IC, you've got a Saturn-Uranus conjunction. Yeah, it's a wide Saturn-Uranus conjunction, but the IC is the IC-MC line is exactly on it. It's at the base of the chart. So there's some tension, explosion, and that is kind of predicted, I think, by that full moon. Now, when you're looking at an event like Chernobyl, it's, you look at the chart, but it's an event perhaps of a political nature. When you look at other events like what's going on in the stock market and so forth, this is a geocentric chart. That means this chart is set up and assuming that the Earth is at the center of the solar system. Now, of course, we know that the Earth is not at the center of the solar system, but we still get this fantasy that the Earth is in the middle of the solar system. You've got the sun on one side, and you've got the moon on the other side. And in terms of political events, and events like Chernobyl, possibly one should look at a chart that is heliocentric. In other words, look at the chart with the sun at the center of the solar system as it truly is. So with the Chernobyl chart, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a slight change. I'm going to make it a heliocentric chart. And so let's see what that does. Completely different chart. Notice there are no houses. There's no sun. The sun is in the middle, and there's the Earth. And it's the heliocentric chart of Chernobyl which is kind of most interesting. You'll see in the heliocentric chart that there is an exact Mars-Saturn conjunction. Also, remember how there was a Sun-Pluto opposition? Well, we kind of still get this in the chart, but that becomes, by definition, an Earth-Pluto conjunction. That's a symbol for Earth in the heliocentric chart. So I think that that tells us a great deal. We've got Saturn and Mars representing the disaster. We've got Earth, Pluto making a trine to Jupiter. And we often think about Jupiter as being a good planet, a fortunate influence. But is that always the case? Jupiter hitting the Earth by trine, hitting Pluto by trine, that perhaps is a trigger. It's kind of releasing something, because Jupiter is a release. Remember, Jupiter is often associated with death in a chart. When you see a chart of someone who's died, you often see that Jupiter has made the final transit, and it can be a very easy transit, like a trine. So that Jupiter trine the Earth has perhaps caused that explosion, and then caused the release of all that radiation over Europe. So I'm just showing you that chart to just illustrate the point that if you're involved in astrology, you're trying to do stuff like predict stock market movements, assuming that's possible, it's always a good idea to look at the heliocentric positions and not just the geocentric positions. Anyway, as far as today's astrology is concerned, here it is. This is the chart for Wednesday, April 26, 2023, set for New York as usual. It's not so dramatic. We have the moon in Cancer, continues to be in Cancer, continues to be conjunct Mars. So Moon conjunct Mars, there's a bit of anger in the air, especially as the Moon is also square Jupiter. Things could get exaggerated, so we do have to be careful there. We don't want to get too emotional. Also, with Moon square Jupiter, we do have to watch out for exaggeration and overindulgence and taking things too far. For example, we must be careful not to spend too much money. We must be careful not to gild the lily. We start doing something, trying to make something beautiful, and we keep going and we can't stop, and in the end it looks horrible. So we do need to know when to stop with that aspect with Jupiter. And also, we've got Moon trine Neptune. Now that's a more fortunate influence, provided we handle it correctly. Moon trine Neptune is more gentle, more delicate. And so I think at the end of the day, we're going to be able to tune into the vibes. Might be a good idea to get into something spiritual. We might want to be close to water, though we have to be careful. Don't want to take risks with water when Moon is trine Neptune. So yeah, that's a fortunate, perhaps quite artistic aspect. So there's something we can do with that. Now, as far as hypothetical planets are concerned, the Mars-Uranus midpoint is important. Now, there's Uranus, there's Mars, and Venus is right in the middle. Venus is on the Mars-Uranus midpoint. So relationships actually could be quite explosive. So if you're involved with someone, and it's not just romantic relationships, all kinds of relationships, where in the past there's been unpleasantness, violence, that kind of thing, you need to stay away from this person. Or indeed, if you are the bad guy, then you've got to know when to stop. And you probably should avoid relationships because Venus on the Mars Uranus midpoint could be very unpleasant. And there's a hypothetical planet, Vulcanus, which is also on the Mars-Uranus midpoint, and that might symbolize a big explosion. Vitta talks about gambling everything on a particular result. So that might be talking about the Ukraine, or if we're losing, we might feel that we've staked so much into this venture that we just have to go we have to go all out with that Mars-Uranus, with Venus and Vulcanus on that midpoint. So we have to be a bit careful there. But I suspect most of us, if we play it safe, aren't going to have to worry too much about Venus and Vulcanus being on the Mars-Uranus midpoint. And I suppose in certain situations it might be exciting. If you are up to it and you want an exciting relationship, then maybe you'll have your chance. As far as the 12 signs of a zodiac are concerned, Aries, 3 stars. It's not worth fighting about it. Taurus, 2 stars. The situation may be more explosive than you realise. Now, the reason I'm saying that is because Venus rules Taurus, and Venus is on the Mars-Uranus midpoint. Gemini, 2 stars. Be careful with money because it's easy to overspend. Cancer, 4 stars. At work, exaggerated behaviour could be surprisingly successful. Leo, 3 stars. The less you're noticed, the greater your power. Virgo, 3 stars. The moment someone gets serious, start questioning their intentions. Libra, 2 stars. The wrong person in the wrong place spoils everything. Scorpio, 2 stars. What seems like fun could end up being hard work. Sagittarius, 1 star. You could spoil everything. So be patient and avoid interfering. Capricorn, 2 stars. Busy people make you nervous. Aquarius, 3 stars. The details matter. And finally, Pisces, 3 stars. It's possible to have too much of a good thing. Anyway, I will now move to my I Ching reading. And the first hexagram I got was decrease. I think some of us may feel that it's time to give things away. I mean, I don't literally mean give away your money or anything like that, but there are things around us that are perhaps associated with the past, and they're perhaps holding us back. And it may be a good idea to sell them, give them away, whatever. It's just as a symbolic move to show that one thing is over. And because we can't really move to the future unless if we are hanging on to things from the past. And this moves to the hexagram number 63, which is after completion. And I think as we give things away, we're going to realize that it's finished. Whatever we're in, it really is finished. Now, we could try to keep going with a finished situation, with a situation which is past its sell-by date. But really, that would be a recipe for chaos and disappointment. So I think what we have to do is accept that it is a time of transition, that we need to pack up the old and start moving into the future without any baggage. So that's all I'm going to say for today, and I will see you tomorrow.